In Germany, bread is serious business. It's not just food, it's a lifestyle. While the world likes soft toast, Germans want a crust that can break a window. They even call dinner Abendbrot, which literally means evening bread. You can't escape the carbs here. This obsession is super old. The word brot comes from an ancient root brew, which means to boil, to bubble, or to ferment. The name describes the yeast process. The dough bubbles and rises. There is a theory that the word das Bier comes from the same root, but don't quote me on that. So thousands of years ago, Germans basically looked at grain and said, let's make bread, and let's make a drink to go with it. English cognates are bread, brew, and beer. And what's with gender? Das Brot is neuter in the same way as das Bier because they are substances. The legendary German Butterbrot. Simple, cheap, comforting, and incredibly popular in Germany. For generations, Butterbrot was one of the most common everyday foods in German-speaking countries. People ate it for breakfast, for school, for work, for hiking trips, and as a quick evening meal. Long before giant fast food sandwiches, many families already ate simple bread with butter, cheese, ham, or jam. That's why Butterbrot became such a classic part of German food culture. And grammatically, German compound nouns follow one important rule. The last word describes the gender. And the last word here is das Brot. So das Butterbrot becomes neuter. Then Germans looked at the Butterbrot and said, what if we add ham? And that's how we get das Schinkenbrot, or das Brot mit Schinken. You may remember from our Wein- und Käseabend class that der Schinken is masculine, but German compound nouns follow the gender of the last word, and the last word is still das Brot. So das Schinkenbrot becomes neuter. Of course, Germany could never survive without cheese. So naturally, das Käsebrot became another classic. And yes, the Käse is masculine, but once Käse lands on the bread, the final word takes control again. Das Brot rules the whole compound. And finally, something sweet. If you watched my short SS mir Wurst, you probably remember that die Marmelade is feminine. But this doesn't matter, as the final word is das Brot, and we get das Marmeladebrot. So what are you picking? Das Brot mit Butter, Schinken, Käse oder Marmelade? Or maybe Germany's other ancient grain invention, liquid bread? Yes, beer was once so thick, cloudy, and full of grain and yeast that people jokingly called it liquid bread. And in many places it was actually safer than water. During brewing, the water was boiled and fermentation helped kill some dangerous bacteria. So tell me in the comments, which German Brot would you try first?